hit the pedal. Oh! Don't hit the pedal! Okay, holy shit. Woo! What's up, fools? This is my 2008 Subaru Outback XT, and I'm going to show you how I replaced all the brake lines because they were rusting in this car. Now, don't watch this video if you're not restoring this chassis, specifically the 05 to 09 Legacy. Maybe some of the overlap with the earlier models as well, but this is a really long video. It took me 4 months on and off to do this. There are other ways you could be replacing the brake lines. Criticize my way all you want, but I wanted to replace the whole thing and not try to couple things together, so we're going to show you how to do that. The only audience for this video is somebody who's trying to specifically restore stuff in this chassis. Don't watch this video for fun. It's way too long. Now I am going to gloss over a lot of steps, just kind of assuming that you can fill in the blanks, because I already had some of it done, plus the video would be way too long, so. Now, some people might just total the car if you have this problem because it's thousands of dollars in labor and who knows how much your car is actually worth. I'm choosing not to because that's an easy decision for me. I have a ton of work into this engine. Well, just bolt-ons, but still. I worked hard on it. I'm not trying to throw away the whole car. So I am going to replace the brake lines. This thing is totally worth saving. Step 1, get a garage. So you get the fuel tank out. That's not the fuel tank. Fuel pump. Fuel pump. Now that the reactor core is exposed, make sure you don't have whatever these things are floating around. I don't know what they are. I don't think they're supposed to be there. So I'm going to take them out. After you've spilled gas everywhere, really important step, make sure you spill a lot. I'm going to go with a hand pump because I'm tired of buying new tools. So for this one, the inlet is the top near the pump handle, and the bottom goes out to the gas can. Been training with shake weights for years, just for this moment. I'm gonna put the gas in my dad's car because it's Father's Day and I'm a nice boy. Or I don't have enough gas containers to hold it all. There's another access panel on the other side that I'm gonna open up. The main fuel pump's over there. Boop. And then in this thing, little pump thing for the other side of the fuel tank or something. A couple fuel lines, 3 fuel lines, and 1 connector down there. I'm going to take the sway bar off first. So here's the drive shaft. Downpipe, there's a heat shield here that you got to take off. See, these bolts here. And up at the front here near your O2 sensor, it's actually easier if you, I think I did it before, so it's easy for me to say now in hindsight, but if you chop the heat shield, the heat shield used to be one piece across there, so you couldn't kind of drag it down without taking the downpipe off or something, I don't know. There's some benefit to me cutting that, I forget what, but yeah, so now mine will just come right out. Oh, yeah, because then I don't have to take the oxygen sensor out of the downpipe. Yeah. Ugh. Cock! There we go, get the fucking... If you have it cut like that, you can just slide it out without taking the O2 sensor out. Yeah! Like that. Get the fuck out. The center bearing for the drive shaft. Turn up the beef. Yep. These are amazing. Be unbolting it for the drive shaft. 4 bolts around the flange here. So right here where the drive shaft came off, there's another heat shield. There's already some bolts I've taken off from it. I don't remember when they came off. It was this project earlier, but one here. And some more up here on the fuel tank support band things. Alright, now I'm going to take these lateral arms off. This is part of the subframe. Take these 2 arms off. These are used to do the rear toe alignment, so you can use a marker to attempt to get it sort of right. For when you put it back together, you should totally get an alignment after you do this, but, you know, at least we'll sort of be in spec when you put it back together. Ah! 'Cause, 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 so bad now that I haven't even touched the brake pedal in like 3 weeks. It's been on jack stands. Brake fluid puddle. Is that enough to say it's leaking, Subaru, you fucking pricks? Piece of shit. So in general, I think what I want to do is take these elastic off here. I'm actually going to try to leave that upper control arm attached to the subframe and just disconnect it at the trailing arm here. Because I can't get the impact gun up there, but I can in there. Then we got to pop the axle out of the diff. I'm going to try and just disconnect the trailing arm on of it there. That bushing. And leave the axle nut on and just pull the whole thing out so the axle stays with the control arm. I'm going to try that. See what happens. Alright, disclaimer. What you're about to see, don't do this. Alright, well, fuck. In absolutely no time at all, I still haven't pressed the brake pedal. We have a steady drift. I already have it up in jack stand, so I'm gonna fix it. Alright, Peter, hit the pedal. Oh! Don't hit the pedal! Okay, holy shit! Whoa! Oh! Yeah, good. I am so glad I wore these goggles. Got brake fluid mist in my mouth. Fuck. Okay. Don't do that. Oh my god. Okay, fuck. After that, I think I'm gonna take all the brake fluid out. So, otherwise, it's just gonna end up in a puddle on the floor. So get a trusty baby nose gooper, and I'm just gonna scoop it all out of there. Fast forward through that. Yep. So got one of the trailing arms down. Successfully pried off one of the axles. So I'm just gonna try and get this other one on camera. Gotta pop the rear axles out of the diff. I'll stab myself with this. What? Nope. Ah, fuck you. Got it. Okay. So, then, what we can probably do is pull out of the diff like this. Yeah! Okay, so I can actually leave this rear bush, or front bushing for the trailing arm in. Cool! Alright, nah, fuck it. I'm taking the axles out. They're gonna get in the way of my rolliness. 32mm Ingersoll Rand means turn up the beef! Yup! Get yourself one of these. Dope. Then, if you come up to the front of the subframe, you get this little brace that goes here, over to there, and we're gonna rip that off. There we go. Yo! Alright, so strategy number one. I'm going to take out the remaining bolts. There's two on each side. Where the sway bar goes, and there's the front ones up there. So let's see how that goes. I'm going to lower it onto the jack stands with the jack. Alright, I'm going to start lowering it. Don't be under the subframe in case something goes wrong. Let's see what happens. There it goes in the front. Do this slowly. Sliding off. Get a gap there. We're rolling. Diff seems to be really, well, diffs are heavy, but pushing it to tip forwards. Okay, I'm going to stop it there. It's definitely tipping forwards, so adjust your jack stands if you need. I'm going to catch you. And let's see what happens. Go. Ooh. Look at that. Okay. I'll hold it there and figure out the rest. But yeah, we're loose. We're down. Sweet.
Alright, this whole subframe diff nonsense assembly is not actually nearly as heavy as I thought it was going to be, so I was literally just pushing it up. Power! And lowering the jack stand. So I'm going to keep doing that, and then I'm just going to drag it out. It's the fuel tank I think I'm going to put on those carts over there. And away we go! Ugh. Come here, bitch. That's all you need. Okay. There's a subframe and diff. So now here you go. There's a place in this car I've never seen before. The whole fuel tank. Subframe was here. So now we gotta start working on getting that out. Supported by band clamp, not band clamp, sorry, bands, support bands. I had a bunch of stud shear off of them, so I bought new ones that I will use eventually. It's a fuel filler neck, I think. Rusty. I do plan to do a lot of rust restoration while I'm in here. And over here on the left side of the tank, that's where the brake line comes out that crosses over the top of the fuel tank to this side. Where are you going? Alright. All this, just for that. Yep. Alright, so you got a bunch of lines here. Fuel, gas, something, air, liquid, who knows, not me. Just gonna start disconnecting things. Some sensors up there. And then, gonna be careful to not puncture or jab, stab in the fuel tank anywhere. I'm gonna try to not quickly drop it on any jack stands, because it could be thin-ish gauge metal and you don't want to poke a hole in it, so, or dent it or whatever. Just be nice. Be nice to it. Alright, so in the back right of the tank, disconnect this thing. Some fuel line there that I'm going to disconnect. I noticed that a lot of these hose, OEM hose clamp things, if you can call them that, they're falling apart. This one I can pick right away with rust, so I'm going to replace as many of these as I can see. That's garbage. Jesus. Piece of shit. I'm going to replace as many of those as I can while I'm in here, and I would suggest you do the same. Yep. Alright, I got some more stuff disconnected. All that stuff off of it. I don't know. Just unplugging stuff. I did notice one weird hose, though. I don't know what the hell this guy's doing. On the back of this plug thing up here that I unplugged, the hose that connects to it on the left, you see it comes down around here. And it literally just inserts into a hole in the body and doesn't connect to anything. That's how I found it, so I don't know. Probably supposed to be like that. Just a weird note I wanted to make. Goddamn rust! Alright, so I got the fuel filler hose off, and I tucked it under this one that runs across and connects to this module thing. I don't know what that is. Probably gonna replace it. Replace a bunch of stuff while I'm in here, because that is gonna stay car side up there, and this is gonna come down. So I've actually disconnected everything. I didn't take that fuel whatever hose out of the body. I went with taking that out there. And then over here, I disconnected this hose. And that's car side. So I think I'm good to start dropping this thing. Alright, here's plan number one for the fuel tank. I'm going to put it on those carts with that jack, supporting that board, supporting the fuel tank. That's good because it's a large surface area, so you're not likely to dent the fuel tank. I'm hoping I can just balance it for the front-back tipping with my hands as I lower it. The board is wide in the car, but it's behind the jack stand, so I'm going to try and pull the fuel tank out backwards out of the car after I lower it onto those carts. So you just undo the bolts for the fuel tank band support things. There's one here and one in the front. And you should be able to just lower it with the band still attached. So up here at the front of the fuel tank, I did take the front two bolts off for the two bands, and lo and behold, the fuel tank is looking like it's loose. So yeah, I'll take the other ones off the back. Alright, so I got the other band things off in the back, the other one over there. Ready to try lowering this. Let's see what happens. Oh! Oh, it's going down. Oh. Let's make sure nothing is being weird in here. Ow. Alright. Everything looks good. Let's do this. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna shut this off and peek up there, see if there's anything, but yeah. Here's your main fuel pump, and then the other thing on the other side that you should have disconnected. I may or may not have waited till now to figure that out, but it did it. Alright, so I discovered this the hard way as the wires started to support the fuel tank. This wire that goes through the other side, so is the driver's side. That's the passenger side. On the driver's side over here, this wire, I think it's going to be easier if I just disconnect it and feed it through. So you disconnect these two things, pop this clip out that's holding it here, and smush this boot through the hole. And then I'm just going to put all this wiring down with the fuel tank and keep it out of the car like that. Okay, that did it. Everything's disconnected. You get your first peek at what goes on in here. And here's the problematic brake line. It runs across whole side. It's not problematic above the fuel tank, but you really, to do it right, you need to take the fuel tank down to get to it. So I already bought the whole new assemblies. I'm gonna put those in. Pop the old guys out. Get the fuel tank out. Well, it's on wheels all corners now. It seems to want to pitch backwards once you have it down, so have a third wheelie thing. I'm just going to use the jack and wheel it out. Oh yeah! I got it out. Here's a good view of the brake lines from underneath. So this is where the two rears come in from inside the cabin. Here's our infamous rusted ass junction. And the rears go, yeah, one just goes right there to the right rear wheel. But this is why we're doing all this suffering. This one that goes all the way across the top of the fuel tank to the left rear wheel. Right there. So, I'm probably just going to replace, I have this pre-bent assembly, but I'm probably just going to replace the whole thing. There's a little rust there. So, where I'm going with this is I don't give a shit how many things I have to cut to get this out. I'm definitely just going to cut this because I have a whole new bracket and everything, which you should do. I mean, look how rusted that is. Bracket and joining junctions. So, since they're screwed anyway, I'm just going to cut them. And then you can start popping off all these clips that hold the whole assembly on along the way. Yeah, this one, these are all rusted too, and not that great. I'm just using an interior trim removal tool. Just go across the whole thing and take the whole assembly out. And then we'll unscrew it from there. And then use a 10mm flare wrench to disconnect brake lines from where they go to the soft lines in the caliper. Go from there, do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll be able to take out this stupid hardline assembly.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
If you made it this far, congrats! You gutted the whole rear, you got the brake lines out, the rear assembly, the rear third, but now we have to gut the interior! Which is the other big annoying part, because here's your center section, and it runs in the interior. So we have to gut this, take the seat out, rip up the carpet, rip up some panels, and see where that goes.
Don't forget to feed the dog. You want to eat?
You want to eat? Come on, let's go, come on. Start by taking the seat out, slide it all the way back with the power things, if you have power things, and then there's one bolt on each side. In the back of the passenger seat, you got these plastic things that pop off, and then after that, you have your rear bolts for each of them, 14mm. And then if you tip the seat towards the middle, access it from the passenger door,
You have one harness that goes car side to the seat, and then just 4 connectors to disconnect to get it out. So there's this one, this black one, and this gray one. And then undo that clip that holds the harness on. Ah! Don't let it fall on you. Aha! The penny! Okay, passenger seat's out. So now we have to take all these side trim pieces off. Well, probably, to pull the carpet up. The brake line center section runs down into there. So I'll start with the back. Interior trim removal tool. Just go for it. Just keep going. I'm going to record every single step for this, but, you know, just futz around with it. Look up some instructions for audio wiring, and you'll be able to get all the trim pieces out. The back portion, this B-pillar section. Hope you don't have to take the top out. And then the front passenger section. Right here at the back. Just want to make a note. It looks like the rubber trim thing on the side here, the gasket, goes over the top. This little piece in here. So on reassembly, you'll have to put it back over the top of that. So I'm taking it off. Boop. So getting this B-pillar trim piece off is nothing fancy. Just pulled from the bottom and I did a couple snaps. Regular standard interior trim removal stuff. So here's what the seatbelt looks like. The seatbelt bolt looks like after you take it out. There's that weird flexi disc washer thing on the interior side of it. And it looks like there is a wire that connects to it right here. But I just noticed there is already an OEM split in the carpet. So you don't have to worry about disconnecting the wire, I don't think. And you can just do that. Put it through there, and then we can pull up the carpet eventually. Back at the rear seat, I ended up slipping the carpet off of this clip thing, but now that the carpet's off, it's easier to get out. There's one for each side. Oh, over there. That's what the rear seat clips into, the rear bench seat. So on reassembly, I'm going to pop this out, and then put the carpet down, and then put the clip in. So we can finally start picking the carpet up. And look at that. Start chasing the brake lines. So they go up here. A couple audio wires that I have. Sorry for the confusion, but those white clips down there are the pair of brake lines for the rear, so we're going to keep chasing them up the front. And then I think at the front of the car we are actually ready to start taking this piece off. So bare minimum, I know there's one interior trim clip right up here in the front. Get that out. And then you should be able to relatively easy pull this thing out. Kind of the brake stuff, but you know, whatever. So it came apart more easily with me taking the weather stripping off of the car side, so I stayed with the trim piece. I'll figure out how these line up later, but we do have the brake lines exposed again. They're right here. 1, 2, boop, boop. So I'm going to keep chasing them and go. Oh, looks like they go up here. Okay. They go up towards the A-pillar. So yeah, my theory is probably going to hold out that we're going to have to take off the glove box or something and get in there. Let's do it. I'm just going to go fishing. Start taking these panels off. So in the spirit of just taking every goddamn thing out of this car, you may have to, I'm just going to do it to make things accessible and easier. There's 3 interior trim clips here that you normally would do to get to the blower motor. Just gonna pop those off and get this whole panel off, and then try to disassemble this whole glove box situation and get that whole assembly out. Got those clips off, so the panel just comes out. Your blower motor's right there. So if you're even 5% like me and you use some brute force methods, you might have this happen. This kick panel thing that was here, the 2 pins that actually held it on, one black one right here and one green one right here, stayed on the car. So I'm going to pop those off and put that back into these 2 slots in the panel for reassembly. Alright, now to start taking the glove box off, we have at least these 4 screws. 1, 2,
3, 4. Then we're going to go ahead and take a couple more things out. There's one little plastic screw thing there on the right. Threaded string. And then one there. And one there. Just in between that thing that always gets in your way of your wallet when you try to put your wallet in your goddamn glove box. Piece of shit. There's one more plastic screw that it hinges around right here. So if you have your string that holds it for your reference point. That thing right there, we're going to take that off and then take this thing off. And that should do it. To get the lid off at least. Alright, I guess partially wrong. We're probably going to have to get to something behind here in the glove box, which means taking off this trim, which means doing a lot of center console disassembly. You got to take this off, and then I think you can pop that off right after that, so we can do that. But in the meantime, under here, here's a plug that goes to, I don't know, a bunch of other stuff. Bottom right, frontwards to the car. There's a big harness right here that you want to disconnect, because I assume we're going to take this whole assembly out. There we go. This guy. Get it out. Talk to your doctor about Viagra. Okay. And then you have a screw there, and then you pop this whole trim piece off. Once you pop that fake wood paneling off, then we need to take this bigger panel off. So, of the screws that I can see, there's one there. This was what was holding the false wood piece on. And then another up here. There's another one here below the head unit. And the back of this panel detaches at the middle, right here, from its mirror side. So, empty your center console of all your weed, or whatever you do. Take the felt off, and there's 2 bolts in there. Alright, so loosening that allowed me to pop this thing out sideways. There are 2 little parts that have a lip, even though they had a screw. This is one of them down below the head unit. This is the other one right here. I gotta pop this off. Yeah. And then the whole thing comes out. And what does that get us? More screws. Alright. So once you get all that stuff out, there's one little more detent clip thing up in there. I don't know, just wiggle. It'll come out. There you go. As you lose, oh yeah, vomit everywhere. Get that shit out of here. Okay. Some more stuff to disconnect. I don't know what's going on here. So there's a connection over on the left side of the glove box that I'm assuming is the light. And then, what was it? This pin right here went into that. It was pretty easy to get off with the interior removal tool. I'll try and get this harness thing off, even though I disconnected it over there. Still attached to the glove box. We're going to get this whole assembly off, get the whole glove box up and out of the way. Alright, next I am going to take the blower motor out. I wanted to make a note that whatever these things are, these 2 are seemingly matching connectors that were not connected with a zip tie that I didn't do. I doubt the previous owners of this car got that deep into the car that this was some doing of theirs, so leave that disconnected, I guess. But yeah, get this big bitch out. Bunch of things, start that connector, then pop its pin clip thing out there. Keep going. That might be part of it, I don't know. There's bolt down here, front right, that we're going to take out. Keep disconnecting things, because that goes car side into this harness. But up by those green connectors in the front here, you do want to disconnect the thing that's also zip tied to the same thing as this connector. So I'm going to skip up front for a sec. These are the 2 rear brake lines going from the ABS unit, ABS/VDC unit in my car. They go through the firewall right down, right there. There's the rubber gasket. That's part of the whole center assembly. So I'm loosening them, 10mm flare nut, flare wrench. So after you get the 2 bolts off for the bottom of the blower motor there, and one over there, Whole thing's loose, so it looks like this little connector is something we want to take off. And this guy over here does seem to be getting in the way. I'm going to pop that off. So I did find one more bolt for the blower motor. It looks like it's going to be a pain in the ass to get. It's at the top up there. It's a bitch, but I was able to get a little baby bitch ratchet in there. So that should work for you, just get a short one. Alright, yeah, that bolt there, or the nut rather, at the top of the blower motor in there was one of the most annoying things I've ever done, because the ratchet backs out into the airbag thing or something up there. I had to finagle a flex head wrench in there and just suffer for like 10 minutes, so it will come out though. Boop. And down the left side of it, the blower motor is actually hitting this metal panel that's under there. If you peel the carpet up, this thing, I'm going to take that off so it doesn't hit, but also because I dropped the bolt behind it. So for that plate, there are 3 bolts in the front of it, and then up the top, right under the blower motor, there's one more right there. And then that guy will come out. Interesting big thing behind there. It's probably the ECU. I don't really know. Oh my god, finally. Now that you pull it off the top stud, that was this guy. And there. So now, see the brake lines right here. Go up under this foam somewhere. Trace that a little more. Take more foam out. Alright. Alright, blower motor's out. Those are the brake lines. They go up under that foam and hook a left. So it's behind that foam, so to take the foam out, I'm going to take this white panel off that has a wiring harness running through it. 3 black clip things that I can see. One there, and one is on the other side of the wiring that is vertical right in there. Pop those off and try to get this plastic piece out, move the wire, move the foam. Got all those 3 clips out. I can actually open this up, and I'm going to try and take that out just to get as many things out of the way as possible. That main harness that it holds is zip tied to it, so I'm just going to cut the zip tie and maybe zip tie it back up later, but I don't really care. And then firewall hole for the brake line should be just about behind there for the foam. I don't know how we're going to do that yet, but look what I found. That's where it goes through the firewall. Alright, so I do not want to disembowel this car completely or any further than I already have just to be able to get to this. I don't want to take a bajillion things off to get this one foam piece, or no, well, whatever, one huge foam assembly out. So I am just going to cut it at what seems to be the smallest length. I need to cut it along up here in this corner right below the blower motor inlet. I'm just going to cut it there because then you can peel it back like this and get access to the brake lines. There's no downside to cutting this. It's totally fine. It's not like if you cut foam, it's going to rattle against foam. And then look what that gets you. You can peel the foam back, and the brake line's right there. So, time to go back to the back of the car, and I'm going to try and pull this thing out, get this into the interior. So I went down the whole length of the car and popped out we're still with the center section here. Popped them out of all their clips. I managed to not break any so far. And yeah, just go down the whole length of the car. If you break any of the clips, the new assembly comes with clips on it, so just use those. Alright, so back at the B pillar here, there's a seatbelt bracket here that looks like the brake lines run the outside of the car relative to it. So since I already have the seatbelt bolt out at the bottom, there's this one bolt here above the tensioner thing or whatever that is. So I'm just going to pop that off so I can get the brake lines in and out without bending them. I don't care about the old ones, get the new ones in without bending them. So I did yank the brake lines through backwards. It didn't look like that was going to work, but they don't technically go straight in. I was able to, because this turns straight up, this little section right after the grommet here. So you might have to bend it a little. So then I'm just going to keep pulling it out. It looks like it's going to come out better if I just actually do it out the side door here. So, alright, now I'm going to take this opportunity to scrub some rust away. One specific place though, is even though it's not terrible, I don't want to have to do this again, and it's easy access while the brake lines are not running through there. Easy access with a power wire brush and a drill. This is the hole where the center section of the brake lines drops down and then would meet the rear section right there where the brackets go on. I cut everything out. So I'm going to grind the rust away here and other spots. So this is the magic stuff I'm going to use for rust proofing. It's Pour 15. It's a 3-part thing. A degreaser cleaner, some metal prep surface thing that you rub on the clean metal, and then this is the actual paint that goes on it. Dries very hard rubbery, and it should do a pretty good job preventing rust in the future. I'm definitely going to put these on the brake line sections that rusted, the replacement section, the parts of the new ones that are bare metal. So hopefully we never, ever, 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 ever have that problem again for this particular car. Alright, time to grind some rust off. So for example, this is what some of your rust stuff could look like if you do a decent job wire brushing it with a power drill. And then you just slap the metal treatment things from the Pour 15 kit on there and then paint it. Just do that for however much rust you want. Depends on how long you want to keep the car. I noticed near the fuel filler neck there is a fuel line thing that I had disconnected from the fuel tank. It's a rusty bitch. So I'm going to replace that. And if you trace it to the top of the car with your trunk disassembled, it comes out here under this metal plate. So there's a couple bolts. I already have some of them off. A couple bolts that cover this thing. You can kind of see it under there. Boop. Whatever. So to get it all the way off properly, to really see what parts are different, we gotta peel this whole side trim thing off. And to do that, there's each of the hitch things for cargo ropes. There's one there, one there. I'm going to pull this panel out too, and then we can peel the whole thing back and take that whole plate off to see what parts we can replace to get that rusty line replaced. There's also a Phillips head screw in that thing. If the sun comes out, take a break. You earned it. Ah! Technically, to get the whole thing out and be able to peel it out, you have to also pull off the D-pillar trim at the top. That'll just pop off somehow. There you go. And then there's another Phillips screw right there. Alright, so I was able to get this thing out. You don't have to take this whole entire side trim thing all the way off. You just peel it back up a little bit. There's one more screw thing that was right there. You can just peel this back and get a ratchet under there, and then take this thing out like that. But what sucks is there's no quick disconnect thing or anything. The pipe is just one piece that runs through the body there and down into the wheel well, so I gotta pull the fender liner out to find where that goes. Alright, so we're in the right rear wheel well. We're gonna try and take a bunch of this fender liner stuff off to try and get to that fuel line thing. A bunch of these Phillips head screw plastic clips. A bunch of them on this face of it, but one right over there past the bump stop. Just take all those out all around it. That one there, that one there. And we're going to trace that fuel line. Took all those clips out. There was a 10mm bolt at the top of it there. So it's like this. Other than that, the rest were just the Phillips head plastic clip things. And that line I was trying to replace comes out through this grommet here. Got that stupid thing out. This definitely looks, in hindsight, like it was an evap hose from the gas tank to the fuel filler. Well, that really sucks. This evap hose is one of the only parts that I've ever seen for this car that is discontinued. So you can't buy this right now new. So I'm going to try to restore it. So I managed to get this fuel hose thing off of the end of that rusted end. Again, this is the evap hose that is discontinued. I am going to try my luck grinding that rust off and see what happens. Oh shit. Beautiful sunset though. That came out way better than I was expecting. So yeah, it wasn't totally rusted to the core, and yours might not be either. Totally worth a try to grind it off, especially since it's a discontinued part. And then we're just going to Pour 15 this. My savior. I also took out my fueler pillar pipe because that was looking pretty rusty. I think you can buy this assembly of these two lines if your brackets are rusted. bent like mine did. You can buy at least this assembly, which should come with new brackets for like 23 bucks or something, whereas the filler pipe is more like 75. So I'm going to try to restore the filler pipe but replace a couple of other things attached to it. So here's my fuel tank. I'm going to try and do some restoration on it because there definitely are some rusty spots, notably these brackets. Another one there. This one I think I was able to find in the part diagrams, and I know you can't buy it, even though it does technically, I think, separate. This one I didn't get a part number for, so I just popped this pressure sensor off. That's what it said it was in the diagram. I'm going to try and grind these along. If you take all these hoses off and their clips, just remember where they go, and then grind away and restore with paint. I grinded everything off that I felt like doing on the diff, and here's the first coat of Pour 15. I didn't get everything in case I wanted to attempt to take some of the panels off at some point, or the plates rather. And then the fuel tank has a few coats on it. The whole edge was rusted. There goes the diff. The whole edge was rusted, so I just grinded that off and painted a bunch of Pour 15 around the edge. And I also did the fuel filler neck. This used to be all aluminum colored, grind off all the rust, paint the whole thing. So hopefully that won't rust. So back onto the car now. I've spent a good few days grinding away a ton of rusty spots. Took the trailing arms down. Can't really tell the finish necessarily, but this is mostly dry and getting kind of glossy. I did 3 coats. Do as much as you can, as much as you have the patience for. And as you're routing and wrestling with the center brake line section, when you put it through the firewall, make sure you put it the exact same way it was before, where the brake lines go under this main harness. The blower motor is proving to be even more of a bitch to get in than it was to get out, so it's again with this top part here. I am just going to cut some of that off to make it easier to get on the stud because it'll still be totally fine. Dremel. And there's your final product. It's vertical right now, so this would be the top thing. I just cut basically everything off so that this part would be flat and this would go in easier to fit on the stud. So I've got my new brake line assemblies installed and hooked up here. So since I hope to never ever have to take this out again, I'm going to just paint all of this. The exposed brake line sections that rusted are here, or some of them. I'm going to paint Pour 15 over all that, as well as some of the other junctions, which if you're headed rearwards downstream, there's one there, and one there. Those you would have to take all this stuff back out if they rusted and you had to replace it again. So I'm going to paint over that. Additionally, I noticed that over here on the left side of the car, my fuel lines right there, just below the grommet there, they were starting to rust a little. That may have been a problem, so I didn't bother grinding it off. I'm tired of grinding and do it. I just painted stuff over it to try and seal off the rust. So check on those while you have this out, because that could be an issue later that you could just solve now by gooping a ton of paint on it. Like that. And here is what the problematic brake line junction looks like after a couple coats of Pour 15. Just gooped it all on there. Did it there, where the center section meets the rear section, and then these 2 other spots where there are clips that touch exposed sections of it. Just gooped it up. Hopefully those will never need to get touched again and never leak. My rear fenders were really bad too. If you take the paneling off on the Outback, there's no paneling on the Legacy there. Maybe some other cover, I forget, from my old Legacy. But all this stuff is something you want to check on probably. There were holes in this and stuff. I basically rebuilt it out of half-dried chunks of Pour 15. So check on those. Hooking the fuel tank back up. I'm recording this just assuming that I get the routing right. But it's pretty self-explanatory from the way the hoses are laid out, I think. So this is the front of the fuel tank, so the rearmost one of the 3. For the fuel pump part, that goes to this one, and on the other side, that
that goes to this thing on the tank. The second one in the middle here goes to the other side in the fuel pump thing. And on the other side, that's one of the two lines that goes to the car. And then the other line that goes to the car is the frontmost one, which goes over to this on the fuel pump. Hopefully that works. Here's my contraption for reinstalling the fuel tank. Rolly things, the board to support everything, followed by put the bands down and then put the fuel tank on top of that. And that way you can just wheel it in right under the car in there and then stick a jack under the board and lift it up. Holy shit, it's done. Finally, it's on the road. It's Thanksgiving. It's finally done. I'm sorry, I kind of skipped a lot of filming for the reassembly, but hopefully you can just reverse engineer it and figure it out and do it in the same order you took it apart in. The one thing I did want to mention is for the fuel tank, the way I got that in was with the help of a couple people, I jacked it up, put it on top of the front brackets, this way, the front brackets that hold the front of it, and just rested it on top of that, and then did the rest of the jacking up to get the fuel band, the support bands that go under it high enough so that you can screw their bolts in. So that was the last element. But sorry this is so long. I kind of did it really thoroughly, maybe more thoroughly than I need to, but hope you enjoyed. Many happy winters with your Subarus to come.